For those with good taste.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are For Those with Good Taste. I am Matt. He's Lenny.
You're Lenny.
Ooh,
I'm Matt.
What's your name?
No, I'm Matt and he's Lenny.
Okay.
Okay.
Got you.
We'll go with that.
Okay.
Well, the spoiler alert, everybody. Somebody else is here with us.
If you didn't know, now you know.
He is our first mate of taste.
Yo, that's a wild name for me. Why I gotta be the first maid?
The first mate of taste,
No,
baby.
it's first mate.
You're the
Not
Mate.
first maid. First mate.
First mate.
First mate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
thought he said maid.
Oh man, you're the guy that we depend on when we need to come through in the clutch.
I roll with first mate.
First mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The accent is not going to go well.
No, it's okay. We're rolling. with it.
All right. Well, this intro has gone swimmingly, gents.
Yeah.
So for real though, I'm Lenny. He's Matt. Our guy D is in the side chair with us today, so you know it's a special episode.
It's always a special.
It's not even
episode.
a special episode, actually. It's the start of something new.
No, it's one of those things where if you're going to start something the right way, you got to get D involved.
Yep. So we are setting a goal of once a month watching a movie, any movie. However, it just has to be on my Vudu account.
Any movie is a bit of a loose term.
Yeah.
But if you say our goal here is to find one movie a month where we can just sit down and kind of recap what we watched.
So, I mean, when we do these, we usually like to have a few drinks. We might, light something up. We like to, get a little casual with these episodes, right? And just, we're looking to break down some movies. And why not start here, right? So this is our new show. It's called
Three,
2, 1.
Spoilers.
There we are.
That felt good.
It felt great,
Felt
guys.
right.
Yeah, that was cool.
So today we're going to be talking about the movie The Gentleman. It's by Guy Ritchie.
It's got Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, Hugh Grant, and that's just to name a few.
Colin
Colin
Farrell.
Farrell. Yeah.
Oh, can't disrespect young
Yeah,
Colin.
no disrespect.
So
Young jumpsuit.
it's a story about an American billionaire who's built a marijuana industry in Europe, right?
Would you say it's an empire, Len?
It's at that point now.
Absolutely.
Yep. He's now looking at the future. They're about to legalize weed, right? And to get out of the business, he needs to find somebody who's buying, and that's what he's looking to do.
Gotta have an end game.
This sets off a butterfly effect of events. It's got blackmail, it's got deception, it's got murder, and we're looking to get into it. As we said, though, this is going to be full of spoilers, so be prepared. And what I'm looking for now, guys, for the two of my compadres here, my friends, could you sell the people real quick in a couple minutes before we get into the spoilers? A non-spoiler, just let them know why they should watch this movie. D, as of yesterday, you had never seen this before.
True.
I don't even know if you had heard of it before.
I saw it on your Voodoo account and I swiftly went past it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Matt, how about you? What was your knowledge of this movie before I told you?
It was always an interesting title, and the cast was something that always stood out to me, but just was never a movie that I just felt the need to satisfy and watch. But I am glad that I did.
Cool.
And it's at the top of your Voodoo too. Like it's like first two rows, and every time I'm like, swoop, swoop.
You know what it is? I spent an obscene amount of money and then I had to slow down. So it's been a while since I bought it.
Hashtag first world problems right there.
So let's get into it, guys. Give me a little non-spoiler sales pitch. I know you guys have a little bit of experience. Let me know if I was to never have seen this movie, if I had never heard of it, why should I watch this?
Well, if you're looking for a movie that's going to get you interested, but it's going to take a little bit of time for that pot to boil, this is definitely one of those movies. I think it's a slow build, but once it does start cooking, man, is it quite the cuisine.
I wish you would have said slow burn because your little setup you did there would have.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Next time.
It was good.
Next time.
We're building.
You missed that.
How'd you feel about it, D?
My sales pitch would be, listen, if you like gangster shit, you like a good plot, this is the movie for you. It takes a little while, like you said, to take off. A little while, but it's setting up for something big. This is the movie for you. Matthew McConaughey is lighting it up in this movie.
Yeah, there's something to be said about when a movie kind of takes time to percolate, it seems to always kind of deliver, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that in this
Right.
case?
Right.
It doesn't. Well, okay. It means more when it delivers. I don't know
Sure.
that they always deliver.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was kind of saying. Yeah.
You know, you said a lot in this when we were watching this about tension, and I think that's important to a slow burn. Is this movie does a great job of building tension. And if you like a movie that it does have some action, I think we're all action movie fans, so we need something in there to kind of keep us, right? But this is a dialogue heavy movie. And if you want a cleverly written script, if you want some funny dialogue, but also some real tension, I would 100% say this is the movie for you.
It's for me, it was the perfect mix of, all right, you built a subplot. I mean, you built a plot for me a little bit, took a little time to take off, and then you drop some real action in there, some real gangster shit, like I said, and then you get right back to the plot. And, you know, you keep going back and forth in between those, and that kept me plugged in the whole time.
There's something about an important narration, right? When you're kind of being explained a perspective or series of events, but you know deep down that there's something else that's going on behind closed doors. And there was always that feeling with this movie. And that's one thing that from start to finish, I was always waiting to see what the juice was going to be.
That's our sales pitch. I think it was a damn good one, guys.
If you're not buying, hit us in the comments. Let us know what we missed, because I need to know what else that needed.
So listen, we don't generally ask people to click off of the content, of course. But we don't want to spoil a movie that we think is great. We don't want to spoil a movie that we think is bad, honestly, either at the end of the day. Like, we want you to watch it for yourself and develop an opinion, right? Yeah. And then come back and check us out. So we are 100% going to talk about spoilers from here on out. If you haven't seen it and you want to just have the movie spoiled for you, this is probably going to have some laughs in it. 100% stick around. But if you haven't seen it before and you think that you might want to see it, if we just got you interested in it, hit pause.
Now's the time.
Go check that movie out, The Gentleman by Guy Ritchie. Check this movie out and come back.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where we want you guys to enjoy the experience with us in, you know, kind of recapping this movie. We do want to spoil it, but we don't want to spoil it for those who want to actually take interest in it. So check it out, meet back with us. And honestly, I think it really just kind of gets the juices going.
With that being said, let's start here. We're going to get into some of the characters, right? Because this is primarily a movie that is built on characters. It's different people that you see throughout it that are going to keep your interest. Let's start with the head, the big title. Right?
Head honcho?
The man who sells it.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey.
AKA Mickey Pearson.
Big baller.
Before we get into his role in this movie, what is your guys' opinion of Matthew McConaughey?
The Lincoln driver. The
Okay.
Lincoln lawyer. Sorry, the Lincoln lawyer.
Movie. Yeah, it's good.
That's Matthew McConaughey for me. My first, I don't say love, but like my first, like, all right, I like this guy. I like this actor. Lincoln lawyer.
I think people have a certain perception of Matthew McConaughey. He's been known as that guy who's in the commercials nowadays for Lincoln. That's another Lincoln. Go figure. But in his recent movies, you're really kind of seeing a different side of him. He's not that happy-go-lucky guy anymore. And this film was something where you got to see the dark side of Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey, for me, whenever I see him on screen, he smells like one of those Bath and Body Works candles, like mahogany. Like every time I see him, I'm like, you probably smell like mahogany. Like, he got like that kind of like vibe to me.
You thinking of wood when you think Matthew McConaughey?
No, relax.
Okay,
relax,
all right. I just wanted to make sure.
Like the
candle.
No, I get it though. Like mahogany, like there is something prestigious about mahogany.
Like prestigious, smooth,
right?
Elegant.
I 100% get it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I got from that. Like, yo, all right, he just got that vibe to me. Like, if I saw Matthew McConaughey in the streets, I was like, you probably smell like mahogany. He smell like a candle.
He's a smooth guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So I somewhat think I'm on the same page with Matt here, where, you know, he's been a lot of different things to me. In the mid 2000s, you know, I'm a big watcher of chick flicks. I'm pretty open about that, right? Matthew McConaughey, mid 2000s, like
10 Things I Hate About
10
You.
Things I Hate. Well, no, that's
Okay.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Thanks.
Fool's Gold. He also has one other one with he was always doing movies with
Failure to Launch.
Yes, that was the other one I was looking for with Sarah
Michelle Gellar. Sarah Jessica Parker.
The other 3-letter name. So he did a lot of that, and even dating way back, like let's talk Dazed and Confused. Like Matthew McConaughey has built quite a career, but to your point, I don't think anybody for the first 20 years thought he was like an actor.
Yeah.
You know, he was a guy who was a good looking dude, had a natural charisma about him. And I think that really sold him as an actor. And he did great in those roles.
Yeah.
There was something really likable about him.
Yeah.
He also had the movie Sahara with Steve Zahn, which is fucking money.
Yeah.
That's on my Blu-ray.
Penelope Cruz, man.
Yes.
It's a good
Funny
movie.
enough, you know how I always make this joke when I come on here. You white, you Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew McConaughey does not fit that mold.
Yeah, I think Matthew McConaughey's
You know what
a
I
different
mean?
beast.
He's cut from his own cloth, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the last 10 years has really changed public perception on him. Getting away from the actor front, I think he's so synonymous with sports now.
Yeah.
Like college athletics in Texas.
Oh,
like
college game day. He's on there every usually one football season making his picks. Big Texas fan. He just seems like your regular bro. Like he out with
speeches at the games to the players. You know. So he's at this point where it's like he is a man's man. Like he's not. He supersedes like everything, race, culture, gender, like everything. I think Matthew McConaughey, there's certain guys that have that aura or energy. Yeah. Matthew McConaughey definitely has that guy. And then in the past 10 years, you've seen him just do role after role. The man lost 1 million pounds to look like he had AIDS, didn't he, in a movie?
Dallas Buyers Club.
So respect to him, and he's completely evolved from just like a guy who can be in movies because he has that charisma to like a true actor, and also outside of that is still able to be like a dude.
Yeah.
You're seeing him in so many different facets. I mean, I think about one of his most interesting roles, and I think of Tropic Thunder, how he played Ben Stiller's agent. And it's just another one of those roles where he's just bringing a different personality to the film. And when I look at Matthew McConaughey, I always come back to The Wolf of Wall Street. Like that, he played such a small role in that movie. But man, is it an impactful role, and it really sets the tempo for what you come to get.
When you have that kind of charisma, you can be like a scene stealer, very easily. Right. Like it's just because
people just naturally gravitate to those sort of things.
You know who I was going to compare him to? It's like The Rock. You know, like coming from the wrestling world. Like you knew when you were watching The Rock versus any other wrestler in the 90s, and like maybe Austin being the one who stands separate, right?
Yeah.
But even Steve, he had a cap to where he went, right?
Yeah.
But The Rock, there is no fucking ceiling. That guy could be the president, right?
No ceiling. There's
There's just something with Matthew McConaughey, and I'm not saying he could be the president or anything, but like I'm just saying that like there's people in the world that have this like aura about them. And I think Matthew McConaughey, very similar to The Rock, has this likability that draws you into him. And it immediately, like, I'm pretty forgiving in any role that the guy does, I feel like.
For me, Matthew McConaughey is on the can't miss list.
Yeah.
Like, for me, even if he's in a bad film,
list?
the can't miss list.
Oh, can't miss list. Sorry.
Yeah, for me, if he's in a bad movie, to me, Matthew McConaughey did well.
That list is very fluid.
Oh,
that list is very fluid.
Absolutely.
It's like him, Denzel. Like how many people can you really like toss on that list?
There's people on that list.
Yeah, that list is very fluid. So that's a very prestigious role, sort of title that you give him to put on that list. So
when I look at this film, it was really just interesting to me how they were going to populate the cast around him.
Okay.
Right. Him being this charismatic guy, being able to kind of play to all facets. How do you complement that? And when you talk about a character that really stands out to me, Charlie Hunnam, terrible accent aside, plays this very calm, cool, collective, but also very calculated role that I feel like ties this movie together.
So I think we did maybe a disservice in a way because like we talked about Matthew McConaughey, all of his other roles, but we didn't really even talk about his role in this, right? And I think you're right. Like Charlie Hunnam is. They complement each other well, but at the same time, they have a very similar style in this movie where like everything's very subtle and subdued, and like they speak in a very like calm manner, and then you slowly feel the build up throughout scenes when there needs to be tension. Both of them are able to deliver this tension. In their performance.
They exude confidence of a bad motherfucker.
Yes.
It's like. You know when you're watching, like, oh, this person's real chill. But at any drop of a scene, they might get it popping. And that was the part for me that I'm like, that kept me intrigued. Like, all right, I want to see when I know it's coming. I want to see when is he going to pull out the string. I want to see when is he going to pull out the gun. I'm ready to see some action. And I was all in for it.
They spend an hour building that tension too. Because I think it's not till the second half of the movie.
And they look good doing it too.
Yes, yeah. Like everything is like.
You know what I mean?
I think everything's paced really well, and the dialogue is so good that it keeps you interested the whole first hour. But that first hour is really just setting up. And I said to you while we were watching it this time, you've seen it once, Matt's seen it twice, and I'm on my third watch now. And every time I think I appreciate it even more is when you get to Colin Farrell, the whole movie sets off, right? Because I think like everything from him on in this movie is where you're like, oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like this is my fucking.
Yeah.
So it's like the 50-minute mark when he shows up.
You've alluded to it. The coach in this movie, played by Colin Farrell, steals this movie for me in a lot of different ways because Colin Farrell, when he's first introduced, you don't really know what role he plays in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, all right, this dude's apparently a badass. He's about to spank some little kids.
Yeah.
But he's the coach.
Yeah.
And throughout this movie, there wasn't a single moment in this movie where I was like, man, you can't take Colin Farrell away from this movie.
Right.
Like he was intricate to
The
every
glue
part
guy.
of it. Yeah.
The glue guy. What we say in basketball? That's the glue guy.
He just tied everything together. And for me,
Yeah.
it was a very interesting perspective in the story.
Right.
I think I feel very much the same. That like every time I watch this, I remember seeing it in the theaters, and I was blown away by him. He stole the trailer. Like this guy, like everything he does in this movie is like a quotable line. They're all like, there's a certain ferocity when he wants to, like when he yells at the gym and he's like, "What'd you stop for?"
I didn't tell you to stop.
Yeah, like
The best.
he has this energy, but at the same time, it's like he's a gangster, but you trust him because he seems like a man of like.
But
his
the
word.
He's
thing
like,
is-
he doesn't want to be that life no more.
Well, he
Yeah.
states
I
it.
mean-
He even says, I've done some gangster things I'm not proud of, and that's all fine and done.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be part of that lifestyle, but he's okay with being able to adapt to it.
He's good with letting motherfuckers know
Oh man,
I'm about that life.
stole it. Absolutely stole it.
Is that your favorite character?
Might have been, honestly.
not
It's
to
pretty
get
easy.
too ahead of ourselves because I want to keep recapping everybody
Sure.
else because
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, this movie is a movie where like it's like, oh, this guy's great. It's like, no, this guy's great. It's
Yeah.
like, no,
It's a
he's
lot
great.
of
And it's just like
perspective.
we
Yeah.
just keep going. Like
Yeah.
there is 7 deep in this movie, 8 deep in this movie to me of actors that just fucking kill it.
Yeah.
So like that leads me to like he might be one of my favorites, but like Hugh Grant, like dude, that guy in this movie is incredible.
I think it's really interesting how they place this movie because you alluded to it a little bit earlier about how they tell the story, but there's so many intricate subplots that come along with this movie that help tie it together. And if you're missing even one of those components, you're going to be lost in this movie. You got to kind of really dig into some of the characters.
They said Hugh Grant in Charlie Hunnam, so they spend a lot of this movie together, right? Like they're primarily bouncing off of each other.
It's a little bit of a husband and wife dynamic between the two of them. It's funny.
They filmed that whole thing in 5 days.
The
That's
whole
insane
entire
to me.
movie, or all their scenes?
Their scenes. They did 40 pages of dialogue, like thick dialogue, like
For sure.
Does
Oh,
that
in
include
5
the
days.
ending with Colin Farrell?
I don't. So I assume it has to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's primarily like the scenes where it's just the two of them. Like, 5 days. Hugh Grant did all of his shit.
And you've said it a couple of times now. But this takes place in London, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have very thick British accents. So that dialogue between them two, for me, again, I love a good British accent. So I was all in from there.
Something about Hugh Grant's character just helped you understand. He was the one that helped me understand that there was something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
As much as he's telling the story from his perspective,
Well, he's the lens of the whole movie, right?
and he
So,
did an
like,
incredible job with that.
as you're finding out things in this movie, it's Hugh Grant who is basically selling Charlie Hunnam on the idea of a movie. Like that, his whole
Well, he's also
part-
selling him on the idea that you need to pay me $20 million.
Well, so the whole point is like, I have this great story, and you've created an enemy in the guy who runs a tabloid industry, right? You've created an enemy, and I have a laid out story that has enough here of substantial evidence to make it fact, right? So the second I release it, I kind of have you by the balls, and that, or at least in his mind, he's like, I have you by the balls.
Mm-hmm.
So his character he's cocky, he's arrogant through most of that first night that they're together.
1000%.
It's also quite crazy that we see this whole thing play out over one night. Like the whole movie actually takes place in one night. Like obviously he's telling a story that spans weeks, but like
when you guys are following this movie, did you find it difficult to tie everything together between the different subplots? So you've got the coach and his guys who raid Mickey's little drug laboratory. Then you've got the intricate plays of how Mickey is kind of engorged in the royalty of England. There's just so many different things that you kind of had to keep a tile or tab on.
well, you have Dry Eyes,
Dry Eyes, yep.
right? his side of it where he's trying to take over the business, right?
Yep.
And it's him and the white dude there, American, the
Matthew.
other American,
Matthew.
right? So it's those two that are kind of plotting. You have, to your point, the Colin Farrell storyline, Coach, on the side, where it's like his boys have got themselves entwined into something that they don't even understand. Like, these guys are chasing clout, and it's gonna come out.
Music video.
Was that the best scene in the movie?
Oh,
I just need to know.
Oh, it's up there. It's top three. Top three for me.
Yeah.
The uppercut.
The uppercut is beautiful,
It's
man.
beautiful.
And you've got to make sure to get that.
Clean.
They added a little bit of there was subtle humor in the movie, but you knew when the toddlers, as they're known, when they're involved in the film, it's going to be complete shithousery.
Any group of men who come through in jumpsuits and hang together as a team,
They're just trying to go viral.
Oh, it's goofy.
It's goofy, but
It's
they're also
goofy.
coordinated.
Yeah,
So coordinated.
Yeah.
Like, they
For
have
sure.
good chemistry that they were like, no, we're gonna get matching.
I've
jumpsuits.
never seen a grown man in a plaid jumpsuit.
And there was 9 of them.
Every time Colin Farrell sat next to dude,
with a Kango.
who's the there was one that always wore a plaid suit.
It's Ernie.
It's Ernie.
It's literally
yes.
Ernie.
So whenever
Yeah.
Ernie and Coach sat next to each other, they were wearing almost identical jumpsuits, which was very funny to me.
I loved it.
But those groups really helped you become a little bit more interested in how this was all going to come together. You
For
want to
sure.
know what role these guys are playing,
For sure.
and are they going to be the knuckleheads who are just trying to go viral, just trying to become famous, be
Yeah.
boxers?
Yeah.
Are they going to get themselves into some shit with Mickey Pearson, who's the baddest dude on the planet right now?
It is definitely one of those things where, because the actors, it's so deep in terms of actors that are great. We haven't even talked about really Dry Eyes or the wife, who, like, for the scenes that she's in it, is a thug. Right?
Nailed it.
Because you talk about top 3 scenes, like, I think the scene with her with the paperweight
Yeah.
is awesome, because she looks like such a thug. She might have the most thug shit in the movie, because she's just like,
But-
she never backs down once on that.
But
whole
that's
thing.
instilled throughout the entire movie because she's the boss at this time. She runs her own garage. Mickey's up in here like, hey, we're gonna knock some boots, and she's like, nah, you can wait. Like, it's just she can't miss in this movie.
Yeah.
So it gets really interesting. When I look at Dry Eyes, there always has to be this antagonist, and you kind of wondered, is he the main antagonist, or is he the guy just kind of playing second fiddle to someone else? I had a lot of questions going into that second half of the movie. How did you guys feel?
What'd you think of the Uncle George scene?
I can't say I was shocked. I kind of, read that a little bit. Young gun wants to take over the business. I'm the boss now. That sort of thing. Kind of could see that coming.
But, like, dude, the epic line of, like, if I can get to you in your own kitchen, I can get to you anywhere.
There's a lot of memorable scenes in this movie,
Yeah.
and the projectile vomiting,
That's it.
where Matthew McConaughey is
Yeah.
calm as can be.
He did well. That's the best part about tension, right? Is when somebody is able to keep, like, him and Charlie Hunnam. That's the thing. Like, they always keep that tone, like
Right.
that very steady tone,
Right.
that they're always in control, even within this world that's like
Right.
becoming more and more
Right.
chaotic.
Hey, what you watching?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Watching on the telly. Yeah. Oh, horse racing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all of that. I was like, all right.
And he
I
gets
didn't think it was no smoke
Dude,
coming.
he alphas him into drinking the tea.
Yeah.
Like, how about
Oh yeah,
tea?
how about you have some tea?
Well, no, he just says, "How about tea?" Because it's a drug. Like, that's
Yeah.
a vice. And it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you talked about my tea? Like, I'm gonna drink
Without
my
a second thought.
tea." And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I got to you.
I saw no smoke coming from there. I
Yeah.
thought they were just gonna have a regular conversation, and he was gonna snitch and be like, "Yeah, my son did it."
But that's
I
what
know.
he's able to do so well in this movie. And
Yeah.
it's at one point there is a scary scene, and it's the first scene when he flips, when Dry Eyes and his little henchmen are in there, and they're like, "Hey man, you know the rules of the jungle,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You're all silver and no back." And there's just that slight noise where he's just, "Oh man, you're about to get fucking murdered right now."
Mhm.
And we see that scene, but it's not what we end up thinking it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
it's
I love those movies where they work backwards from that. Like, this
Because-
is the end, work back.
Well, they gave you like the pivotal part right off the jump in this.
you,
Yeah, that's what I'm
you've
saying.
managed to
Yeah.
show me how raw someone can be,
Yeah.
but then you just took a step back and you showed me how he's changing, and that
Yeah.
just it set the tone
Yeah,
for me.
like, he
I like
could
the
be
whole
this
thing.
guy. Yeah, no, you're right. He could be that guy, but
Right.
no, he's actually more calculated.
He's probably worse.
because he's
Right.
gonna pick his spots.
Oh,
Like, I mean, you flash forward to the end, and it's like, I want a pound of flesh.
Right.
Like it's not enough that you're gonna pay me. Like, we need to make sure that you know in the terms of how this
How the
works.
jungle works.
I'm the alpha, and
I'm
everybody else
that
sits
guy.
underneath me at this.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I get chills when I think of some of those scenes because it's
Yeah.
powerful and it's a side of Matthew McConaughey that we don't see, but he delivers it so well.
This is, as I look back on it, man, like the thing for me is, had you guys not told me and we not talked about like, hey, this is a movie I should watch, I probably would have never watched this movie. And that's such a disservice because this movie was really fucking good.
Yeah, you even I think he was like, why isn't this movie more critically acclaimed?
Yeah. No, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good movie, and I can't say it enough that I probably would have never watched this movie.
It's definitely something that I think has it, for lack of a better term, maybe an acquired taste, right? Like
Okay.
for you to have
Why say
watched
that?
it. I guess what I mean is like anybody who watches it, I think will really enjoy this. But
Yeah.
but like I had to watch it to tell other people too, right?
Right.
So like I guess I mean is
Word
like
of mouth?
it's something that needs somebody else to kind of spark the energy to be like, yo, I need to. And a lot of good movies do need that. So I think it's easier for an action movie to draw the general masses' attention versus a movie like this that is driven primarily by the characters and the dialogue, right? If you swap out the 10 actors we've talked about with bad actors, this movie sucks, right?
It doesn't
Like,
get past the first 5 minutes.
you need people who can carry this, and I think you need other people to have seen it and put 2 hours in and be like, no, man, like the performances in this movie are so good that you need to experience it. Like
Give it
you
a
need
shot.
to, it will open your eyes. Like, dude, when was the last time you saw Hugh Grant in a movie?
When's
know
the
what
last
I
time
mean?
you've seen
Like-
Hugh Grant in a good movie?
In a,
I think that's a much better
in a
question.
serious role.
And even more, like Charlie Hunnam. Like I didn't watch him as Jax, right? Like, so that has nothing to me.
yeah.
So really, that guy has built a career to me.
Yeah. That makes
isn't
it
justified.
to me. That makes you a whole lot more credible for saying, "Yo, I like Jax
Mhm.
versus me," because my first introduction is
People
Jax.
love this guy.
Yeah, and that is up here. So
So-
I'm like, yo, you're not Jax Teller.
So
you
I-
ain't doing it. for me,
As
you know
someone
what I mean?
who has experienced the Jax Teller phenomenon
Yeah.
on Sons of Anarchy,
yeah.
I've always had an issue with Charlie Hunnam in certain movies, and I've been quoted on the show saying it in Pacific Rim,
Yeah.
where to me he was just Jax Teller in that movie.
I think that's a good role for him too, though. I
Yeah,
think
sure, 100%.
He should have come back.
But there was something where I was like, "Can you do anything different?" And in this movie, answered all the questions.
I won't go deeper into this just because of where we are and what we're talking about right now. But you saying that is a very, very hot take for me because I say the same thing about Denzel and other roles. But I won't say that right now. I won't expound. But I feel the exact same way as you
Sure.
about Denzel in his movies. But another time for another show, and we can talk about it.
I mean, we can, if you want to get. I'm kind of interested in your thought here, and real quick because we got to restart our camera.
Yep.
Let's come back with that.
Cool.
All right, so we're talking Denzel, and so like we it's funny we had said Denzel would be on like a can't miss list. I say that about his performances, but I don't necessarily say that about his movies. So I'm interested to know what you were gonna say here.
That's exactly how I feel because when Matt said it, I was like, ugh. That's why I said the list is fluid for me. You might want to talk Denzel in the 90s. Oh,
Well,
can't miss.
But is it him or does he have like? Is it that he picks poor, like?
Which is why I said what I said to Matt. To me, in the Black Twitter world, Black community, our thing is always, hey, who do you like, Denzel or Will? Who's the better actor? And I'm always on the Will side. To some pushback, I would say to a lot of pushback. I think the majority would say Denzel, but for me, one of my biggest arguments is that Denzel plays one role really well. He
Yes.
is an authority figure in every really, really, really good movie. You tell me your top 5 favorite Denzel movies, 4 out of the 5, he's a police officer, a authority figure, somebody with a
Assassin,
gun, and
yeah.
that's his role.
Yeah.
No knock, you do it really well. You're really good at it. But if you're an actor, to me, when I think actor, it is someone who is multifaceted, and that is my beef with who's the better actor thing. And are you a product of really good movies or really bad movies as an actor, Denzel, i.e. Denzel?
I 100%, like from my perspective, agree with what you're saying. I do think that there are probably people on the other side of this that could tell his movies that he's done that he doesn't have those things.
For sure.
So Flight, being
that
interested.
was-
Flight, and then what's the other one when he was in the hospital? John Q.
John Q.
So
John
I
Q.
was-
So
I
those are
was
the two that
also-
everybody always combats me
So
with.
like I was also gonna say, not that he has a gun. Maybe he's not even so like unstoppable.
Great movie.
I
I love
think
Is
that.
Okay.
not he's not
Yeah.
necessarily in a position of power
But
in that movie.
no
but,
one would
like,
say that's
he
one of his
acts
upper
the
crusts.
fuck- Yeah, so I think we're on the same page
Pe-
primarily, but
I'll throw a movie out there, and it wasn't one of his best. Pelham 1, 2, 3.
yeah.
How, how do you think he did in that film?
Good.
To me, that's what is a good gauge of how good of an actor you can be, because there wasn't a ton that he could do with that role, but he managed to do pretty well with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think John Travolta in that movie is probably the reason why I don't like that movie.
Oh, I think he's fine. I don't have a problem.
too.
Okay,
I didn't
but
mind it.
but to me,
I think that's a good movie.
Yeah, no, for sure.
when you mention it being a fluid list, Denzel, I think gets a lot of flack for playing a lot of the same roles.
That's a commonly said thing. I was going to ask you for clarification though. Are you speaking specifically of your issues with what he's done mostly modern day? You know, past
Are you going
10
as
years?
far back?
Because like I pulled up his IMDb because I had to refresh myself because
Yeah.
the man's been acting forever now, right?
Could you pull it up, man?
Yeah,
While we're
yeah,
talking,
yeah,
while
yeah.
you're talking.
So-
Yeah,
I'm listening
so,
to you, Lenny.
Like I was just, dude, I scroll back and I'm like, damn. I mean, of course, remember the Titans, like, and then right before that, the man in '98 drops He Got Game. Like those are movies that are not,
Yeah.
like those.
But
But you're right about the attitude he carries in those movies. But is that just because him as a human being, right? Think about where he's at in terms of acting perspective. I just feel like that comes through in his movies that he's like, no, I'm the best to fucking do this.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm glad that we brought up the IMDb because he's played a lot of autobiographical movies. He's played Malcolm X, he's played Flight, and he's played another movie where he's basically portraying another character. Biopics, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Take the Book of Eli. Most people, again, I'm one of those people, I enjoyed that movie for different reasons. He played a role that I didn't really understand, and he did it very well. If you look at the movies that he's most known for, he's always going to be that authoritative figure. He's going to be that guy that's yelling at someone. He's going to, King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
Yeah.
But when you look at the other movies that he's done and you judge him based on those, I think that's where he gets a lot of his merit from.
I'm looking at the list as we speak, and for what I have said so far about the things where he is an authoritative figure in it or someone with a gun, for me, all of the ones I like are off the beaten path. I would say, quote, slightly.
Antoine Fisher.
Like you said, remember the Titans. That's up there for me. He Got Game. Some of basketball head. I'm a hoop head. That's up there.
shit,
for me.
no, I look at this list. This man is like
The
a
Book of
legend,
Eli,
right?
yeah,
he's,
of course.
I do
I'm
agree.
talking legendary status of an actor.
Safe
Of
House?
course.
That's why I wanted the
Yeah,
clarification
great
because
movie.
from
Good job.
2000, but that's where you're right, I think, though, is because when I think about what you're saying, I think about from 2010 till now, and I'm like, Safe House, Two Guns, Equalizer 2. It's like there is a certain role, Magnificent Seven. It's like, you're right. The only thing I would say is Fences, right? And the little things. I haven't seen that, but I heard it's bad. Like,
terrible.
so,
Gun.
but I
He
look
got
at
a gun in Little Fences.
But I look at 2000 and before that, and this man like was. The thing is, like him in pre 2000,
Yeah.
he showed already. He already did all that.
Yeah, he
You
did.
know what I mean?
He put in the work.
Dude, like Philadelphia,
Yeah.
like this man
Yeah.
played a million roles.
Yeah.
But I think
Devil
I
in the Blue Dress,
question.
even though he has a gun, still top 5 for me. I love Devil in the Blue Dress.
I still question though in terms of the past 10 years. Why isn't he working with some of these directors that have kind of taken off? And you are right. Like this is a conversation maybe we should have at a different time.
Mhm.
Maybe we get into a Denzel or a Will Smith movie in the next few months,
I'm
and
here
like
for that.
that's what
Here for
sparks
that
this
one.
up again.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great conversation, and I think if anybody else has any opinions, please let us know.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Let us know. And I think it's an even more important discussion when we kind of approach our next question. When we look at Guy Ritchie, how many of Guy Ritchie's films have you actually A, seen, or B, rated as a very good movie?
One. And my one is controversial. The King Arthur movie. Which ties it all the way back into what we were talking about.
Mhm.
How I was saying Jax
Hunnam.
Teller.
Yeah.
Jax Teller, Charlie Hunnam is I only know him because he in Pacific Rim acted like Jax Teller. Well, that's how the whole thing got started. So for me, I didn't personally see Jax Teller in King Arthur. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I would say I would give it another watch. It's not something I'm rushing back to, but I didn't hate the movie.
King Arthur is on my Vudu, right? And maybe
Yep.
we should rewatch that at some
Yeah.
point. And like, I think I'd be interested to do that. So obviously, like, you guys watch my Vudu, but my aunt also watches my Vudu. She swears by
King Arthur.
She's watched it 900 times.
We're gonna have to
So
get her
we're-
on
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Special guest. I want to
Like,
be here for that.
She loves it. And I'm like, I've watched it, and I just, I don't have a problem with it, but I guess I've never really been like engrossed in it. Like, I've never really lost myself in watching.
Have you
King
rewatched
Arthur.
it since?
So I think because of coming off of how positive I feel coming off of this movie with Guy Ritchie, it's
Yeah.
gonna make me want to watch some Guy Ritchie stuff and
Okay.
see. But those things feel very different than this.
No,
Like,
yeah.
I don't have a great familiarity with his stuff. I know how good Snatch is supposed to be, and I know how good Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is supposed to be. So I think I need to watch both of those, and I think we all should watch them because of what this movie's done for us. But does Aladdin and does Man from U.N.C.L.E. and King Arthur feel like these kinds of movies? No. And not that I need to watch these because I haven't.
It was an interesting question that we posed because, unlike you guys, I have seen another Guy Ritchie movie, and it's one that I genuinely enjoy.
We've seen other Guy Ritchie movies, Matt.
That are similar to this. I'm
Aladdin.
sorry.
Because I saw Aladdin.
Is that a Guy Ritchie movie or is that a Disney movie?
It's a Guy Ritchie Disney.
There's a guy,
Sure.
yeah. It's a Guy Ritchie. Yeah.
Coming from the other side, I have seen a couple of other films that are outside of the new stuff. And one that stuck out to me when watching The Gentleman was Rock and Rolla. To me, one of my favorite movies, but if you're watching The Gentleman, you're like, ooh, you did something really well and you realize that you could do it again. And you managed to do that.
This is going to come off like a sarcastic question, but is Rock and Rolla like a musical?
No.
Okay.
No, Rock and
Because
Rolla.
I feel like it had, like, when I saw the commercial, it came off very much like an action musical type thing. Like, it had... I think the same thing about Repo Man, if anybody remembers that movie.
I do remember that movie.
Yeah.
You know what it is that I've never seen a trailer for The Gentleman, but if I saw a trailer, I would imagine it's somebody telling me what's going to happen.
The trailer is largely built around Colin Farrell. Like, it has the scene where he's like, Fook. Like, that scene is the trailer.
One of the best scenes ever, because he's like, his name is Fahook, but it's like fuck, but Fahook. And they say it like 20 different times.
It up when he says like fuck, get the fuck.
He said, "Get the fuck out of the trunk." It's so many good scenes.
Yeah.
But for me, I
so it's like fuck.
It's like fuck.
I looked at Rock and Rolla as a movie that I genuinely enjoyed, and I'm not a fan of King Arthur. I genuinely didn't like the Aladdin movie when it was redone.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan.
Hater, bro.
You could call me that, I guess.
You're a hater. That movie was not bad. It's better than The Lion King.
That's not saying much to me. But when you jump on the Guy Ritchie bandwagon, for me, the Gentleman was one that I was willing to hitch my ride on. It was one of the things that as I got into the movie, I was really excited because it did kind of hit on some of those Guy Ritchie feels. Yeah. I was excited, and when I got to the end of it, man, I wasn't disappointed.
So let's get into some of like so I did a little trivia searching here, right? And I thought that I found some interesting stuff, right? First of all, this script was written over a decade ago.
Interesting.
That's kind of crazy, right?
Okay.
Because I usually think that's an indicator of a bad movie.
Yeah.
If it
Really?
took a year, because the little things, little things. That movie was written.
If you would have told me the same thing without me seeing both of those movies, I watched The Little Things first. You told me that was written 10 years ago. And that was some dog shit to me. Some meatloaf.
I haven't seen it, but I heard it was very dated. Like you could tell it was a story.
It was very meatloaf.
Yeah.
And then you tell me the same thing about The
Gentleman.
The Gentleman. Two completely different things. Two opposite sides of the spectrum.
But that's where it gets kind of interesting. Because if you would have told me, hey, it took this film we pulled a script from 10 years ago, I'd be like, man, we're really kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, huh? Like the pandemic's really making you guys dig deep. This is one of those where I'm like, man, I'm glad you guys brought it back because I feel like this would have been one that we would have missed out on.
Yeah. One of the more interesting things I read about this movie. So this movie was originally scripted to be a TV series. And Charlie Hunnam was originally supposed to be the main character. So it's going to be a TV series about his character. And like, I assume it would be about him doing the work that he was doing on the side there.
Well, okay.
like surveillance and
Being the right hand man,
Yeah.
so to speak.
At some point, the company who was making the movie, and I'm not familiar, I can't remember who the production company was off the top of my head.
Are we sure it wasn't Miramax? Because they made an
got a
appearance in the
good plug.
movies.
They got a good plug in the movie, yeah. So
yeah, big plug.
they basically were like, hey, before you do a TV show, maybe think about let's do a movie. Let's do a major movie first
Right.
and set up the TV show.
Right.
So that's where Matthew McConaughey gets casted as Mickey. And he gets involved in the movie. And I guess until the end of the press run leading up to the movie, he didn't even know there was supposed to be a TV show first. He didn't know that he had caught like Charlie Hunnam on being like the lead actor in this movie.
He was cutting it like it was a star film, and he was like, "Yo, I'm the number one guy. This is how we're doing it right here."
So originally, Jax is the gentleman.
Yeah.
Aha.
So I don't know if he was like the head honcho or if he was still going to be. I guess that never really came out as like maybe he was supposed to be the head guy. Yeah, and he was supposed to be Mickey.
It wouldn't be different from what he's done already, because if you look at Sons of Anarchy, it's told through his lens, his perspective. So
Right.
if it was a show that was based around Raymond
Right.
and he's telling the story of Mickey Pearson,
Yeah.
could have been interesting.
Which is why I asked, and I lean on you guys a whole lot more. I have no reservations about saying something that I don't know. So the movie The Gentleman, is the gentleman Charlie Hunnam or Matthew McConaughey?
I think they both were similar enough to where they were both gentlemen. Like they told you what they were going to do before they did it. They were polite about it.
So again, like, I didn't even think about it until you said it. Like, when you tell me, oh, Jax was supposed to be the first, Charlie Hunnam was supposed to be the main actor, the lead actor, and then you say the movie is called The Gentleman, I'm like, well, as if I'm watching it, I think Matthew McConaughey is the gentleman. It's telling a story
It's his
about
movie.
him.
It's
Yes,
his
exactly.
movie, yeah.
But who got the most screen time?
Was Charlie
Hunnam.
Hunnam. Yeah.
So is he the gentleman? Like, you know what I mean? That's why I asked that
It's
question.
interesting.
Matt, what you think?
I don't know. Now that you're talking about it, I'm bouncing on both sides. But to me, when I look at the title of the movie, it just assimilates what the movie is in its at its core. It's a couple of guys who have gotten their hands dirty, but on the surface, they look like just your regular aristocrat.
They do it in a very professional manner.
Gents.
Yeah.
Like this is just a job.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, when we look at the moments of tension and how the music kind of builds up to all that, it's more interesting to us because they're playing these gentleman-like guys and they're doing some dirty shit. And it just gets more and more interesting as it's happening, and I'm invested.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, like thought on like how it could be, because it could go both ways. And so the announced thing is like there is supposed to be still a TV series coming on this. So when I was thinking about the TV series, before you even said that, I was like, Matthew McConaughey is not coming back for a TV series.
No.
I do in the moment when I'm thinking about it though, let me spitball here, right? Is now that we're in the pandemic, and me and you have talked about this quite a bit on here, Matt, there's a lot more appeal to doing a TV series now, as opposed to doing a major movie release, because like nobody's going to the movies. So why don't I just make a TV series? So now even more than ever though, I could see them go the route of like Matthew McConaughey being like, oh, I can just stay here in this nice location or whatever for a month or two and just like do my thing. With people I'd probably like a pretty good cast that all like, seem to bounce really well off of each other and maybe continue something there. I could see more appeal now, but I do tend to lean towards, when I was thinking about this originally, it's probably Charlie Hunnam's series, right? If you're going to do a TV series, it's going to be built around him. So maybe he takes over the whole
I think we
reins.
say that because we've seen him take on a series before, be the leading actor. But there is so much more appeal to those A-list celebrities being able to take part in these shows, to your point.
What level celebrity is Charlie Hunnam?
He's certainly not A or B list, in my opinion.
You don't think so?
You don't think he's B?
No, to
See,
me...
I think the reason he is where he is right now is because he has the look of an A-list, but he doesn't have the like roster. He doesn't have the.
So what's your, so
See, he
what
doesn't-
you,
he doesn't
so-
have the
but I think
credits.
B is fair. Like I think
I might
he
go
sold Pacific
low
Rim.
B, high C.
Yeah, like
Sure.
he
He's
sold
on the C
Pacific
level
Rim.
for me.
You think-
High C though.
I don't know.
High C, man. I can't
I'm not
go
even a
lower.
fan of this man, and I'm the only one
Okay.
who's like
Okay.
over here
I'll-
defending him. Like, are you kidding
So
me?
I'll set it this way, and I've already stated
For movies, yeah.
I'm a fan.
I think that all
If
plays.
you say Charlie Hunnam or you list his credits, they're not going to stand out to your average
B-lister.
run-of-the-mill C-list. I'm saying he
Okay.
is C-list celebrity
Okay.
because to me a B-list would be Hugh Grant. To me, Hugh Grant falls in that B-list because he's somewhat known. He's got the credits. Charlie Hunnam doesn't have the credits for me.
there is a different. So there's got to be different tiers
levels.
or levels because but Hugh Grant, you're talking about different levels of their career.
And I'm saying,
Like Hugh Grant's got 15 years on this man.
I'm
This-
also
like,
saying,
Right, but we're
From
also
the-
talking B-list compared to C-list celebrity. You can't have both. You can't say he's been in the game a long time. You're either a B-list celebrity or you're not. And to me, Charlie Hunnam isn't.
and I also say from the standpoint of you said it a couple times, credits, but I also say the common fan factor, right?
Sure.
So I personally think, and maybe it's because Jax is a little bit more relevant, Charlie Hunnam's a little bit more relevant, that he has the common fan factor that might boost his sort of.
Can I say what's
something
not
like
fair
that.
about your thing?
Sure, at one moment, you would say that, but I would say the person who's most interested in movies here has never seen Sons of Anarchy.
Right.
So-
that's fair. That's fair.
That's
So
all
my-
I'm going to say.
My point would be this though. Your theory is like, okay, Hugh Grant is B level, so that makes automatically Charlie Hunnam C. But would you argue that The Rock and Chris Hemsworth are A level actors?
Yes.
So are they the same A level actor?
No.
So does that automatically make Chris Hemsworth a B level actor?
No, but I would say when it comes to mainstream and people knowing you, I would say Chris Hemsworth is an A-list actor.
But
So
The
is that
Rock
saying-
is like
But he's farther on
Char-
the A-list.
And this
sure.
is just my point that like Charlie Hunnam, okay, but Charlie Hunnam speaks to a whole demographic of people that Hugh Grant can't.
We've
Which is
we've-
what I
okay,
was saying.
Hold on,
Yes.
we've named
Exactly
we've
what I
named
was saying.
we've named
So I just
one,
think they're both B. I think they're both B.
I'm
Just
open.
different spectrums of the beat.
Yeah,
I'm
they're just
open
different
to
lanes.
interpretation.
Yeah.
We've named one good show that he's been on. Can you name another good movie besides The Gentleman that stars Charlie Hunnam?
Well, we just did Pacific Rim.
Big time.
That
Big
movie's
time.
fucking
Box
huge,
office?
man.
Big time.
Yes.
Okay.
Big
All right.
time.
It got a sequel, man. It's big enough to get a
And he
sequel.
wasn't in the sequel.
Because they jumped forward in time, though. And it's 'cause-
Ah,
but it's not because
all right.
they didn't want him. You know they wanted Charlie Hunnam for the sequel.
Listen, all I'm gonna
They
say
were
is,
they were bummed when they didn't. They built the first one around him.
as a Charlie Hunnam fan, he doesn't have the credits to be considered an A, B list.
I
actor.
think what it comes down to is, and I said this from the beginning, he has the looks of an A, but he is a B when he should
And
be
he's
an
got
A
the credits
because
of a
he's
C.
been given the roles to get him into that next echelon.
Yeah, for sure.
So he
They've
got
been given the
Pacific Rim.
chances,
Pacific
yeah.
Rim should have led to something else. But
Two
then
big time
But then he
chances.
did King Arthur.
Yeah, two big time chances.
If I've had a nickel for every time Charlie Hunnam was set up for something bigger and it didn't happen, I'd have at least a quarter.
Sure, but dude, if you went back, here's the unfair thing.
I like that.
If you look at like a lot of actors, that they can pick roles. Ben Affleck, right? So Ben Affleck.
No,
and-
my favorite white guy.
I don't think anybody's arguing that Ben
so
Affleck
Ben
is an
Affleck, like,
A-list
almost
actor.
no,
though.
but he almost. This my point is not that he's an A-list actor. It's that like different actors go through stretches in their career where they have to find different things to build their career back up. So like Ben Affleck, this man was on fire in the 90s, and then all of a sudden he started doing movies that were fucking bad, right? Like one after another. It was Jersey Girl,
Whoa,
Geely.
take it easy, dude. Jersey Girl's a good movie.
No, so here's literally I was just talking about
Oh.
this the other day with one of our listeners, Jeff. I was telling him that I actually think that Geely,
Shout out Chef.
that Geely's good and
Ah,
that
see, I wouldn't
Jersey
agree
Girl
with that.
is like fine. They're both fine.
Yeah,
Like I just
okay.
mean that like in the sense that they got
No way.
killed
Yeah.
critically, but
No,
they're
no.
like whatever.
No, that's
Okay.
trash, but it's okay.
So,
Keep going.
but that proves my point even more though.
Yeah.
So like he all of a sudden started doing movies that were fucking bad, and it took him another 10 years to finally he started directing his movies that were good.
Yeah.
So-
he
so-
hit rock
but-
bottom.
Like Charlie Hunnam, even if he ends up his run on a TV show is pretty fucking good.
was
But I,
his run on the TV show.
I know the man because of his run on a TV show I never watched.
His
so
run on the
different end of
TV
what
show
you
was
said about me.
legendary, Lenny. Don't
Yeah.
don't
Was-
don't
but so he
downplay
used that as a
him.
negative that I didn't
No,
see that
but-
show,
but-
but I
but
he
I'm
stands
not-
out.
but I'm
more.
not using that as a negative against him because again, I'm a Charlie Hunnam fan. But if you were to define an A-list actor or a B-list actor. He doesn't fit the script.
Okay.
That's just how I feel. He doesn't
That's
have the
fair.
credits. He hasn't been in enough films where you can say, yeah, man, that guy is a B-list actor. 100%. If the spectrum is very wide on the A-list of actors, then it can't be as wide between B and C.
Who are the F-list actors? Who's that? Jamie Kennedy?
I don't even know if it gets acknowledged
Malibu's
past
Most Wanted,
C.
bro?
Mal's,
Don't knock it, dude.
It's Malibu's Most
Andy
Wanted.
Milonakis, he's on the F.
Oh, well,
Yikes, dude. Take it easy,
come
bro.
on, man.
Jesus.
Look, that guy had enough working against him. He did pretty well for what he was.
All right, guys. I think it's fair to say that coming off of this movie, we all felt like this was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
here in Good Taste Studios, we are changing the way that we're rating things. Things aren't good. Things aren't bad. They're not meh.
They're either tasty or they're not.
Right. Either you're
Tasty.
tasty or you're not.
Yeah, I like tasty.
And we've kind of figured out a way that we're going to rate this movie. Yay or nay?
Tell me more.
All right. So
Let us hear it.
Yeah. So we here in Good Taste Studios have figured out a rank system from 1 through 4 as of right now, subject to interpretation.
I didn't realize we never came up with 4, so it's actually 1 through 5. We'll figure out the 4th at some point.
Right now it's 1
This
through
movie
4.
this movie doesn't fall into that category.
Well, the movie doesn't fall into the bottom half. So we've got, are we ranking this a number 1, a porterhouse steak? Are we
The
rating
tastiest,
this?
The tastiest.
tasty.
Melt in your mouth.
You were
Good.
about to go
Sell me
on.
on this.
Well, I was
come
gonna
on, bro.
Sell me
I
on
was
this.
gonna
Sizzle
do-
me, baby.
Give me a moment to define.
All right, go.
Porterhouse steak is when you're thinking about that last meal, when you're thinking about that meal to end all meals, the one that's just going to fire off the taste buds, you immediately think a good steak.
That one thing that'll give you a stiffy in your pants, right?
And it's juicy, baby. Porterhouse steak, we're going with numero uno. And then when we go to number 2, who doesn't love some cake?
I love cake.
We're jumping into
I
the
love
dessert
cake.
menu.
Yeah.
Cake. Ask Rihanna.
Shit.
I think every interpretation of cake works for this.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's our number 2.
Yeah, maybe you like a nice slice of chocolate. Maybe you like a nice vanilla
Red
slice with a little chocolate
velvet.
frosting. Ooh, you're a chocolate.
Now,
I'm a red velvet guy. Come on now.
Take it easy, buddy.
All right.
Now, if it is one of those instances where you're, maybe you're a fan,
Maybe you sit in the middle of the road.
maybe you're at a bar and there's just something that's sitting on the table.
Not beer nuts.
Not beer nuts.
Nah, no beer nuts.
Our-
Shit's chips, baby.
Our number 3 is shit is chips.
It's just
It
chips.
is just
right?
chips, bro. It's
Regular plain Lay's potato chips.
regular
The
degular.
yellow bag.
Extra greasy. Right?
It's plain
But
as
when you
hell.
pull your hand out of the bag after a couple scoops and you see the gleam
Or-
coming off of it,
or
a
you-
little
Rub it on
shine.
your shirt and your pants.
Or
Yeah.
you finish the bag and you're immediately filled with regret because
Yeah,
you
you
got nothing or
empty
anything
calories,
to do with your hands, dude.
Mad.
So that's just chips.
Chip.
And if you're,
so the next one is where fan participation.
yeah,
comes
we're
in.
opening this one up.
So,
So,
number 4, we need
Number
like a-
4, if it's not quite chips, but it's not quite dog shit either,
It's a
we
little
need to
below
know
average.
how you feel. What's that one food that, maybe it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you're coming back from the bar? Maybe that's the food that you're choosing.
Can I put a poll out there because I just came up with one?
I
I don't know if
did
you
too.
should.
As soon as you said that, I came up with it.
What do we got?
Bologna.
Me too! I said the same thing! That's literally what I was trying to say. Bologna.
I think we might have an issue here because I think our 4 and our 5 might be lock and lock.
It's bologna.
It's just bologna. Shit.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good taste listeners. You've heard it here first. Our number 4, that shit is straight bologna.
Oh my God, that was what I was thinking.
Nailed
That's
it.
crazy. Oh my God.
All right, so if it's not quite dog shit and you're willing to deal with it, that's our bologna at number 4. And then our absolute dog shit, the one that you're not willing to touch unless it's your mother's homemade recipe.
Way to save face.
I had to say face. Love you, Mom. Number 5, we're hitting you with that meatloaf, baby.
Meatloaf.
Yeah,
You
meatloaf,
never
dude.
went anywhere and was like,
Yeah, let me get that meatloaf.
let me get some meatloaf.
I need you more tonight.
No, never.
And I need you more than ever.
Never.
Never.
No,
Simple as
never.
that. Clips of the heart?
Not once, not
Never
never.
have I ever asked someone to give me some meatloaf.
No, I've never.
It's just
gone
one of
there.
those-
Never.
Meat should never be in a loaf.
It's one of those
Loaves are
things
for
on the
bread
menu.
and for
Just like
slippers.
green beans should never be in a casserole. It's the same thing.
No, it's fair.
I think at this point, if we're eating bologna before everything, you know that it's meatloaf, baby. All right, guys. So we've got our ranking system here in Good Taste Studios.
Yes, sir.
You're either going 1, porterhouse steak.
Yep.
2, we're going with the cake.
Yes, sir.
3, it's just some chips.
Yellow bag.
4, that shit bologna. Or 5, you working with some meatloaf. And I don't think anybody wants to be part of that meatloaf crew. Where are we putting the gentleman on our tasted or wasted list?
D, kick us off, baby. First time watch, man.
First time watch, I'm going with this. I love the plot. Love the actors. Top to bottom, I was all the way in. I'm going with a smooth slice of red velvet cake.
Oh.
Yeah.
It tastes
Wow.
good. It tastes good.
Yeah.
And it just felt right hearing it. Did it feel right saying it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. 1,000%. No quarrels, no going back, no wavering. This is absolutely a stamped D'Angelo red velvet cake watch.
It's interesting that you went red velvet.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows me knows I'm taking a yellow cake with some chocolate frosting. But at the end of the day, it's some cake, baby.
It's some cake.
And this is where this one felt for me. It is coming in hot at number 2.
Yeah.
Hook it up with the cake, baby.
Glass of milk? Chocolate milk with it?
I'm not a fan of milk. Just give me that cake straight,
just the
baby.
cake. Okay.
Maybe it's because I'm a little inebriated, but this ranking system, it just gets me excited.
I'm with it, dude.
You guys are describing cake, and I'm like, I'm turned on. I don't even know if I'm hungry.
Hands is rubbing together.
I'm like, whoa,
What are we doing?
Nat got so sexual on his descrition of
I
cake.
may have winked at him midway through,
was
but it is what it is.
It's like yellow cake with frosting.
Whoa.
You felt it in your loins?
This feels real good,
This
boys.
feels good.
Lenny, what do you got, buddy?
Sicko.
So I want so badly to be like, let's just go in hot, like give it the best score possible. But I do agree, we need to go up from here. So I'm going with a nice piece of cake. I'm a confetti cake guy.
Oh, about to say, you gotta say your type of cake,
Maybe
bro.
I'm a kid. Maybe I'm a little child,
No,
dude.
man.
But give me a nice piece of confetti cake, the vanilla kind.
Yep.
I don't care what kind of frosting. I like the confetti frosting too to go on top of it. Give me a little sprinkles in
Sugar
there.
rush?
Yeah.
Because I don't eat sugar that often. So when I'm getting in there, I'm diving deep.
All right,
So,
guys.
or-
Well,
Dude, ice cream cake. Fuck.
you better cut that shit out, Carvel. All right. For those of you listening in, the gentleman gets us overall scoring of number 2. We gave it some cake, guys. It felt good dropping this very first 3, 2, 1 spoiler. Episode 1, The Gentleman. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Also, slap some feedback on that scoring system. We want to hear what you guys think.
Please do.
It's been fun, guys.
Till next time.
This was a good time. Thank you guys for having me. As always, I really want to put that down. I appreciate you guys for having me. Thank you.
Hit us in the comments, hit us in the likes, hit subscribe.
We out.
We'll catch you guys soon. Later.
Hit us in the chat, y'all.
For those with good taste.